Helldivers 2 might have just made the gaming comeback of the century, and while people are inevitably going to say, Helldivers didn't go anywhere, you did. Which is technically true, what's more interesting is exploring how the spirit of release day Helldivers 2, aka what made it actually fun, made its way back into the game after a bit of a difficult time. Helldivers 2 had one of the craziest rollercoaster gaming launches ever back in February of 2024. Not only did it exceed the peak player counts of Helldivers 1 by orders of magnitude, but it did so while becoming a cultural phenomenon. The memes went ballistic across all platforms. It seems the entire planet became consumed with the idea of safeguarding space democracy by carpet bombing anything in its way. This dorky, on-the-nose, satirical take of a totalitarian state in disguise absolutely hit it off with gamers, and we all collectively suspended disbelief to just enjoy being the bad guys. The meme train rolled on, seemingly unstoppable, as Helldivers 2 peaked at number 2 on the Steam charts. That is, until the first major balance update. See, Helldivers 2 was about to enter its valley of despair, falling prey to that all-too-common trap of modern live service game design. Namely, the balance team taking any fun gameplay loop that the community found and promptly closing it. See, in early Helldivers 2, taking on heavily armored units was quite tricky and required very specific builds. It was very much predicated on rock, scissors, paper game design, where you needed a very specific set of weapons to take down units like Chargers, Bile Titans, Hulks, etc. One way we found around this was by using the Railgun, a relatively portable support weapon. This weapon was a force equalizer, allowing us to run relatively balanced builds. The balance team didn't like this, because apparently too many people were having fun with it and completing difficulty 9 Helldives. So began the game of whack-a-mole fun squashing. We quickly ended up in a state where even a balanced team couldn't field enough heavy armament to take down the amount of Chargers, BTs, Hulks, and tanks that the game was spawning at us.
The Shredder and an Annihilator on top of each other in front of me.
Nice. It is.
Land on the tanks.
It essentially became a horde shooter where you didn't possess the requisite armament to actually shoot back. Unfortunately, this was just the beginning of Helldivers 2's woes. What would follow is a long escapade of community managers wantonly banning community members from the game's Discord for relatively banal reasons, creating additional friction between the developers and the players. If this wasn't enough, the now infamous statement from Sony was to follow, where a good half of the world's population was about to get geo-locked out of the game. And you can imagine how this went down, with the active community dropping to less than 5% of the game's all-time peak, followed by a massive review bombing campaign on Steam. Despite a phenomenal launch just months prior, the game was in dire straits. So dire, in fact, that then CEO Johan Pilstead decided to demote himself into a creative role in order to turn the ship around. And boy, turn it around, he sure did. This was the beginning of Helldivers 2's reclamation of its prior glory. The developers began to buff weapons and stratagems rather than nerf them as a general rule. The net result was emergent strategies like actually effective flame weapons, meaningful ways players could complement each other by taking out heavies together, and a sort of death of the meta where multiple playstyles became equally viable. You can see this even now, where most of the leading content creators all main different loadouts and swear by them. This is a great thing because it means that Helldivers 2 can finally be played how the player wants to play it. You're no longer shoehorned into specific builds just to deal with edge cases. Want to play a build where you use a jetpack to hover over the battlefield, raining fire and Armageddon down on your enemies? It's got you. Want to play an all-rounder, using the autocannon with flak ammo to clear chaff for your team at the expense of limited efficacy against the heaviest units? It's got you. Want to play an anti-tank specialist, specifically geared to crush the game's heaviest units? It's got you. And this is what the game so desperately needed, because the fun in Helldivers 2 was never about the meta chasing, but rather finding the playstyle that most resonated with you and learning how to maximize it. I only recently returned to the game with the Heart of Democracy update, in time to help the Helldivers defend Super Earth from the Great Illuminate host and also experience the awesome new addition of weapon customization. Loading in for the first time, I felt a bit like a frozen chicken being thawed as the game bombarded me with a series of completed major orders from a year ago, none of which provided any currency, which is fine given I didn't actually take part in any of them. After slamming the OK button enough times to really wear down the lifespan of my mouse, I began the slow, clunky process of refamiliarizing myself with the game mechanics. Pretty ironic, given that a year ago we were one of the meta-chasing channels reviewing all new weapons and war bonds as soon as they dropped. So, to my surprise, the war bond screen, once populated solely by Helldivers Mobilized, Steeled Veterans, Cutting Edge, and Democratic Detonation, was now augmented by another 9 whole war bonds, each packed with their own new playstyles, with another soon to drop in a couple of days. I promptly got to work grinding super credits, and managed to unlock about 3 war bonds per day over the next week. Speaking of which, leave me a comment if you'd like a quick guide on how to do that. It's something we can cover in about 3 minutes in a future video and is super simple, but only if it's something you actually care to see. A few solo low-level bug missions later to feel out the new state of the game and items, followed by jumping in to help defend Super Earth against the Squid Incursion, all of which was completely new to me. We never had city biome missions before, and all of the Illuminate units were completely foreign. This alone was like a breath of fresh air. By day 2, I was already comfortable enough to be sweating it out in super Helldives with my random compatriots from around the world, and as soon as it came along, it also ended, as I found myself there at Equality on Sea, where we finally pushed back the incursion and liberated Super Earth from impending tyranny.
Victory, Helldiver! Victory! The enemy is in retreat. Super Earth has been defended.
And this brought me back to baseline. We were back down to everyone's favorite Tyrannid stand-ins, the Terminids, and also the Space Terminators, aka the Automatons. This is where I learned how much the game had truly improved in my absence. Fighting the Automatons brought back awesome memories from yesteryear, except I was running wholly different loadouts. Something once unthinkable like the Eagle strafing run was now absolute S tier. The jetpack was now an amazing mobility aiding tool to get you out of tight spaces and get some epic play of the days along the way.
To the sky!
And the anti-tank emplacement, aka the Grandpa Chair, was an amazing way to fight back hordes of heavies, supplemented with the once near useless napalm barrage to completely zone control an area. And the great thing? That was just one possibility out of a myriad of builds. Against the bugs, I had tears streaming out of my eyes, laughing as I hovered over the battlefield, raining down fire and destruction with my flamethrower. Shooting shriekers in the sky with flak rounds felt like some weird futuristic throwback to World War II. And there were a whole heap of new ways to deal with Chargers, Bile Titans, and the new Impalers. Slowly, I found myself shelving every other game in my collection as I came back, day in and out, keen to grind out medals to unlock new war bonds and further customize my weapons. Which basically leads us to today and this video. I can firmly say that my love affair with Helldivers 2 has been reinvigorated. Is it perfect? No. I've had more crashes to desktop during this run than ever before, as the game appears to struggle with the weapon customization and certain dense scenes. The public game experience is still very hit and miss, largely determined by the cognitive ability and emotional stability of your team. You still often get one-shotted or killed from off-screen, seemingly due to no fault of your own, but it's these moments in the end which make it all worthwhile.
Orbital inbound!
And at this point, I'm happy to take it again, warts and all. I hope you are too.
No, 50 meters.
There's something here.